Everybody give me a countdown to 5!
Five, actually.
88 miles, 92, a new Guinness World Record! Well done.
About a year ago, in a school in the middle of England, the students got together and decided they were going to do something quite extraordinary. They were going to create their own world record. Now, it wasn't for the most people climbing into a Mini or baking a giant cake or anything like that, but a record for the fastest model car. Now, to do this, they first had to persuade the Guinness Book of Records to create an entirely new category. Then they researched all about land speed racing cars over the last 100 years. And eventually they built a car which, after several failures and near misses, made 2 runs across their playground at nearly 100 miles an hour. They got their record. Great fun. You can see that the whole school got behind them. But it was more than just fun. To get this record, those kids had to learn about aerodynamics, they had to learn about design, materials science, engineering, chemistry, physics, leadership, teamwork, challenge, and of course reward. In short, over the course of a few months, this small group of teenagers made a little piece of history, inspired their entire school, and learned lessons that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. My name is Richard Noble, and I want to tell you about an extraordinary adventure. It has drama, danger and excitement, and involves every one of us. It's called the Bloodhound Project. I've spent my life doing fairly unconventional things, leading expeditions, creating new technologies, and for the past 25 years, competing for the world land speed record in jet-powered cars. It's a harmless enough hobby, but one which has somewhat strangely opened my eyes to what I believe is the biggest threat facing us today. Forget the financial crisis, we've had these before, and painful as it is, we'll work our way through. And I'm not talking about water shortages or rising populations or even global warming. I'm talking about our collective failure to inspire a generation with the belief that they can actually shape the world. Call it engineering or technology or science. It's the stuff that has given us the world we live in, and it'll shape our future. The generation growing up now has the most awesome responsibility. They're the ones who'll have to cut emissions, protect resources, and feed the world. They didn't ask for this job, but they've got it anyhow. What we have failed to do is to give them the confidence, the understanding, and the tools to try. You might think I'm overstating the case. It might be true that 60% of the world's aerospace engineers will retire in the next 20 years, but it's okay. India produces over 200,000 new engineers every year. China's space program is motoring along. But in Britain and America, we're even making engineers redundant. So what's the problem? It's simple. The problem is so big we simply can't comprehend it. We have to fundamentally re-engineer the way we live, and there aren't enough people to do it. It's not about jobs today. It's about having the innovators, the risk takers, and the creators to do the jobs we can't even imagine now. But here's the good news. We can fix this. We are fixing this, and here is how. Now this is Bloodhound. It's a rocket and jet-powered car designed to travel at 1,000 miles an hour. It's 44 feet long, it weighs over 7 tons, and it has 135,000 horsepower. That's 6 times more power than all the Formula One cars on a starting grid put together. Now you might be thinking, good grief, what on earth are they thinking about? Have they never heard about global warming? What sort of emissions does this thing produce? Well, about the same as 4.12 lactating cows, if you really want to know. And Bloodhound is exactly what we need if we're ever going to get serious about global warming. Because what you're looking at isn't just the fastest car ever designed, It's actually a global education initiative being followed by over 2 million people in 207 countries. It's an extreme technological challenge, an Apollo moment for our generation. It's an engineering adventure that we're sharing with the world. It turns out that land speed record breaking, this rather eccentric minority sport that I've been involved with for so long, is actually the perfect vehicle for communicating the real excitement of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. In 2013 and 2014, when we blast our car across the dry lake bed at Haxkeen Pan, South Africa, we won't be racing another team in another car. We'll actually be competing with the very laws of physics. At 1,000 miles an hour, our driver Andy Green will cover a mile in just 3.6 seconds. That's faster than a bullet from a gun. We're even having to reinvent the wheel. Ours are solid slabs of aerospace-grade aluminium, each one weighing nearly 100 kilograms. And at top speed, they will spin at over 166 times every second. And that makes the G-force at the wheel rim 50,000 times the force of gravity. Normal car wheels would simply self-destruct. So we've been working with world-class designers at Lockheed Martin and at Cambridge University for over 3 years to create the fastest wheels in the history of the wheel. Superlatives like this fire imagination. They also make up for great headlines, and that in turn helps us capture people's attention. And the real power of Bloodhound doesn't come from its jet or its rocket motor. It's the fact that we share everything we do. When Andy Green goes for the record, you'll see the same information that he and the rest of the team have on your computer or your iPhone. You'll know all the facts and figures about the car because we've shared them all with you. Every triumph, every setback is played out in real time to the world. For example, in April 2011, we put the full 3D plans of the car onto the internet for anybody to download and explore. If you have got a spare rocket and a spare jet, you could even have a go at building one at home. We've created the biggest rocket to be tested in the UK for over 20 years, and we're going to do that in front of the world's media. No one can share the story like us. Formula One can't do it. There's far too much money at stake. NASA can't do it, and nor can any other aerospace organization. National security and intellectual property rights rule all that out. People making wind turbines might do it, but would anybody care? And that's the cruel truth. We need wind turbine engineers, and we need solar engineers, and we need hydro engineers, and all the rest. But these things simply don't fire the imagination of young people. But a 1,000-mile-an-hour car, that certainly does. Bloodhound is unique, it's visceral, it's colourful, its appeal crosses the boundaries of age, sex, location, and occupation. It's science fiction made very real, which is why Bloodhound has become a global story. Remember, this isn't just about a car or going fast. It's about the journey that we take together. And already 5,000 schools in Britain are on that journey. Our driver, Andy Green, did a sellout month-long educational tour of South Africa, visiting schools where they love Bloodhound, but don't even have electricity. Nearly 300 people answered the worst job advert in history, volunteering to go out in the desert at their own expense and help clear rocks from the 24 million square meters of desert to build our track. The BBC is making primetime shows and programs for schools, and Intel is making Bloodhound education materials available to over 6 million teachers worldwide. Children are doing Bloodhound-inspired lessons in science, maths, design and technology, geography, art and English. They're off making Bloodhound go-karts, balloon cars, doing poems, drawings and songs. Someone's even made a Bloodhound pram. And that's fascinating because we know you can only learn so much in the classroom. Informal learning at home, on the computer, on the phone, alone or with friends is how this generation gets its information. They don't want to sit there and be filled up with knowledge. They want to explore. They want to find out for themselves. So we're creating our own web TV programs and using the social media to share the adventure. We're inviting them to use Bloodhound and to make their own content. Our website, YouTube, Flickr, Twitter, whatever the medium, we can use it to share the adventure. And all the time, we give them real data, real information. We give them the chance to think up and not to dumb down. And this is ultimately what we've learned doing this project. We give up on our children all too quickly. Convention says they won't understand complex ideas. They don't have the attention span to tackle challenging subjects. Well, that's rubbish. They can do anything. But first, we have to inspire them. I've been lucky enough to meet many inspirational people over the years, and I've learnt many valuable lessons from their experiences. One of these was Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. someone who knows a thing or two about the inspiration business. And here's what he had to say about Bloodhound.
Okay, engine stop. ATA at a descent. Mode control both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. Port 13 is in. Okay. Contact light. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Neil certainly inspired me, and the Apollo missions turned millions of people right around the world onto careers in science. And without that space race, we wouldn't have much of our modern IT industry, and that's for sure. So who's inspiring our kids now? A footballer? Some character on a video game? Once upon a time, it might actually have been an engineer. Now, lamenting the past won't help. There's been too much of that, and it doesn't work. Bloodhound isn't about reliving old glories. It lives for the future. The future represented by those children coming through our schools today. The future that they will create. So I'd like to finish by asking for your help. Go to your schools, colleges, companies, and tell them about Bloodhound. Tell them about the Joseph Leckey School and their rocket car. Tell them something incredible started, and we want them to be a part of it too.